Good news. I have suddenly acquired the ability to read minds. Better news. The thoughts I can perceive belong to the genuine daughter who has just returned home. Bad news. The revelations I uncover seem rather disconcerting. My younger brother playfully teases me, and the genuine daughter muses. Oh, Qin Yao remains blissfully unaware of her dear brother's hidden affections. My elder brother offers me milk as a gesture of comfort, and the genuine daughter remarks, "Wow, how daring of Qin Yao to drink the milk laced with medication." My father presents me with a birthday gift, prompting the genuine daughter to comment, Qin Yao must be oblivious to the fact that she is her father's cherished daughter. My mother confronts me directly, and the genuine daughter observes, Tiske, Qin Yao must come to terms with the reality that her mother does not love her. Heaven help me, this world is utterly mad. 1. Upon learning that the genuine daughter was just outside the door, I resolved to assert my dominance. When my mother entered, leading a petite, slender girl, I instinctively knew I had triumphed. With a slight lift of my chin, I was about to speak when I heard a curious voice from the unfamiliar girl. System, you mustn't say. The Qin family is indeed affluent, just look at this grand villa. They even possess a 3-story house. Those 2 vases at the entrance must be antiques. I wonder how much they are worth. I pouted, finding her to be rather unsophisticated and lacking in worldly experience. What are you talking about? My mother, dismissing the girl, hurried to take my arm, chiding Moo. What are you saying? Her face lit up with joy. By the way, this is the sister I mentioned. Come, greet her. My mother pulled me in front of the girl. The girl, timidly glancing at me before lowering her gaze, softly called out, "Sister." I wore a somewhat peculiar expression, because that voice resounded once more, unmistakably belonging to my dear sister. System, this must be the false daughter. How beautiful she is, with rosy lips and pearly teeth. No wonder, she has been so pampered. Upon hearing this, I raised an eyebrow. Hello, sister, I am Qin Yao. Hello, sister, I am Qin Shuhua. Gu Lansu looked on with satisfaction as the 2 girls, one on each side, made their way to the living room. Qin Shuhua and I quietly followed, or rather, it was Qin Shuhua who appeared outwardly tranquil. Goodness, system. It's no wonder the genuine daughter returned in such a state of depression. Just observe how little this family values her. They claim to be overjoyed to find their biological daughter, yet only her mother came to fetch her, and there is a false daughter at home, with her father, brothers, and younger siblings absent. Clearly, this does not bode well for her future, Qin Shuhua muttered to herself, and I nodded in agreement, recognizing that a difficult life ahead would be best navigated quietly, allowing us to coexist without interference. However, I found myself intrigued by the system. Could it possibly resemble those found in novels? After listening for a while, I realized I could only hear Qin Shuhua's thoughts and not the system's voice. On the living room sofa, Qin Shuhua remained obediently with her head bowed, while Gu Lance's strained to engage her in conversation. Only I knew she was communicating with the system. System, what is my task? Is that all? How simple is it really over? After a few moments, I heard Qin Shuhua's thoughts again. That works. I was unconcerned with the nature of her task, as long as it did not disturb me. Yet, the sudden silence from Qin Shuhua caught me off guard, as she had been so chatty from the outset. I feigned casualness as I glanced over, only to lock eyes with Qin Shuhua, whose gaze held a subtly sympathetic expression. As I attempted to discern her feelings further, she averted her eyes once more. How pitiful, Qin Yao. I dismissed her sentiment. I am blessed with loving parents, an elegant elder brother, and a younger brother who heeds my every word. What is there to lament? At noon, Qin Yuz, a senior in high school, hurried home after classes. From what his mother indicated, his biological sister had returned. Biological sister? Does that imply the current sister is merely a fade? Sitting in the car, Qin Yuz smiled enigmatically. Yuz, I called to the boy who rushed in. He obediently responded, sister, and promptly took a seat beside me. When I glanced up, I noticed Qin Shuhua's gaze was somewhat peculiar. Upon reflection, it dawned on me that Yuz was her biological brother, and witnessing my camaraderie with him must have unsettled her. This thought stirred a pang of guilt within me, prompting me to gently pat Qin Yuz's arm. Quick, call her, she is also your sister. Yuz, displaying a sense of propriety, dutifully addressed me as sister. To my surprise, Qin Shuhua's expression grew even more peculiar. Her eyes lingered on Qin Yuz's arm, and I initially assumed she was envious of our closeness. I reassured her, you've just returned home. Once you get accustomed, you can also play around with him, just like this. As my hand neared Qin Yuz's arm, I suddenly heard Qin Shuhua's inner thoughts. System, do you think if Qin Yao knew her brother harbored ulterior motives, she would still dare to frolic with him? Upon realizing what she had said, my movements froze. Qin Yu's puzzled inquired, sister. What's wrong? I shook my head, slowly retracting my hand to touch my forehead. Perhaps I am unwell. After all, how could I hear such absurdity? Upon hearing of my supposed illness, Qin Yu's grew anxious, grasping my wrist. Sister, what is troubling you? Headache? Fever? Sore throat? My mother, equally concerned, chimed in. Mumu, do you need to see a doctor? Chen Shuhua, in a hushed tone, also expressed her concern. Sister, are you alright? Yet, internally she was thinking, wow, things are escalating quickly. Someone is quite eager. Although she didn't specify who she meant, I instantly understood. I casually glanced at Qin Yu's hand, then discreetly stood up. I'm fine, perhaps just hungry. Mom, shall we go eat? At the dining table, I found the food tasteless. Afterward, Qin Yu's returned to his studies while my mother took Chen Shuhua shopping. I feigned illness to remain behind. At 3 in the afternoon, the second floor of the villa was eerily silent as I stood before Qin Yu's door, hesitating. Grasping the doorknob, I wavered over whether to open it. Unbidden, memories of Chen Shuhua as thoughts during lunch flooded my mind. Logically speaking, Qin Yu's was unaware that Qin Yao was not his real sister. From his perspective, they are indeed siblings. Isn't he a bit perverse? How could he not be? Just look at Qin Yao. She seems perfectly normal. Alas. It's unfortunate that Qin Yao remains oblivious to her brother's true feelings. She suffers quite a bit in the original narrative. Had she been more observant of that inconspicuous box whenever she visited Qin Yu's room, she would not have trusted her brother so naively. Taking a deep breath, I resolutely opened the door. I was quite familiar with Qin Yu's room, as he often invited me to play video games with him. Sitting back in the computer chair, I recalled how each time I accidentally kicked that box at my feet, Qin Yu's would glance at me, urging caution. My curiosity about what lay inside had been met with his dismissive response that they were merely trivial items, prompting me to ignore it and continue gaming. With determination, I pulled out the box and opened it in one smooth motion. Inside lay an assortment of hair ties I had used, a cherished fountain pen from middle school, love letters penned during my early high school crush, and various small items I had often misplaced, draft papers, earrings, a bracelet, hairpins, and a beloved little outfit I had never worn. My fingers trembled uncontrollably as I fought back nausea, hastily returning the items. It was utterly absurd. How could such a ludicrous situation exist? My steps unsteady, I retreated to my own room. That evening, Li Ma summoned me downstairs, announcing that Mr. Qin, the eldest young master, and the second young master had all returned, waiting for me to join them for dinner. The atmosphere in the dining room was relatively amiable. I disregarded Qin Yu's expectant gaze and seated myself beside my brother. Qin Lin offered me a glass of warm water, expressing concern. Still not feeling well? Ah Yao, your complexion looks quite pale. I shook my head, remaining silent, and avoiding Qin Yu's sorrowful expression. At the head of the table, Qin Shifu cleared his throat. Today marks Shuhua's return. From now on, our family will have 2 daughters. How about this? We hold a banquet on your 20th birthday in half a month to formally announce this. Ah Yao and Shuhua, what do you think? I was about to nod in agreement when Chen Shuhua's shriek pierced my eardrums. This banquet is where everything goes awry. Can I attend the event? No. Why not? I want to go. How else can I assist Qin Yao? Hey, you said it. If anything goes wrong, don't blame me. I instinctively frowned. What sort of mishap could occur at a banquet? Unfortunately, Chen Shuhua's attention was diverted by food, and the topic was not broached again. After dinner, my father summoned me to the study. As soon as I sat down, he handed me a card, reassuringly saying, Ah Yao, don't be upset. Allowing Shuhua to be showcased is essential. This card is a compensation from your father. I attempted to refuse. Dad, I'm fine. However, he would not accept my rejection and firmly placed the card in my palm, insisting, in my heart, you will always be my most beloved daughter. My eyes misted. Thank you, Dad. Upon exiting the study, I spotted Qin Lin idly wandering in the upstairs corridor. Brother? He turned, naturally extending the glass of milk in his hand to me. I noticed you weren't feeling well. Warm milk will help you sleep better. Thank you, brother. I accepted it, intending to gulp it down in one go. Drink up, after you finish. Just wait to be thoroughly consumed tonight. By morning, you'll be sore all over, clueless as to why. I witnessed him placing something there, though I have no idea what it was. If you ask me, Qin Yao's vigilance is quite low. She dares to accept anything and drink anything. Startled, I jolted as Chen Shuhua unexpectedly appeared, softly calling out, brother, sister. before retreating to her room. With her interruption, I could no longer stomach the milk. Qin Lin stared intently at the milk, and recalling Qin Shua's words, I felt a twinge of fear and explained, Brother, I'm not thirsty right now. I'll drink it when I return to my room. Qin Lin looked a bit disappointed but swiftly changed the subject. By the way, what did Dad want to discuss with you? It was nothing. He just told me not to overthink things, saying Shuhua is also a part of the family now, and I should get along with her. For reasons unknown. I instinctively concealed the card. Qin Lin smiled gently. Dad is right. Don't worry too much. You are my sister too. Alright, you should go to bed now. Okay. Good night, brother. Ultimately, I did not drink that glass of milk. In a half-daze, I felt as though someone had entered my bedroom. Qin Shua's words surged into my mind, jolting me awake, yet I dared not open my eyes, pretending to still be asleep. I heard the newcomer navigate around the obstacles in the room, heading directly toward me. A cold, emotionless gaze scanned me, and just as I could no longer maintain my facade, the person finally shifted their attention. Then, with purpose, they began searching for something on the desk. Soon, they came to a halt. Suddenly, I heard Qin Lin's mocking laughter, his tone chilling. Old man, you truly have a fondness for Qin Yao, to the extent of giving her this card. I had never before encountered such a tone from Qin Lin. In my memory, he had always been the embodiment of a warm and dependable elder brother. Qin Lin, in a fit of anger, exclaimed, Why? What is there to like about her? From childhood to now, you have always favored her. Outside the door, Qin Shua accidentally stumbled, letting out a gasp, causing Qin Lin to fall silent instantaneously. I could not discern how much time had elapsed before tranquility returned. I opened my eyes in the darkness. The milk laced with sedatives had stealthily crept into my room at midnight. He was envious of me. These words had previously never dared to be associated with Qin Lin, yet now they resonated with unsettling authenticity. The sedated milk. Qin Lin, you dare indeed. I pondered when Qin Lin had begun to deliver milk to me. It was after I had boasted about receiving something from father during a visit to the study when I was 10. Since that moment, he would occasionally bring me milk. Without any discernible pattern, yet every time I emerged from the study, he would invariably present it. I had always assumed it was based on his whims, never realizing there was a method to his seemingly random offerings. I could only smile wryly. This world had gone mad. How else could it be that in the span of a single day, everything had transformed so drastically? My younger brother, infatuated with me, while my elder brother harbored jealousy. I was beginning to believe Qin Shua's words. The following morning, the dining room appeared deceptively serene, yet I sensed a shift in the atmosphere. I deliberately avoided both Qin Yu's and Qin Lin, choosing instead to sit beside Qin Shua. A casual glance revealed Qin Lin observing father. While Qin Yu's regarded me with a complex expression, I chose to avert my gaze indifferently. A silent breakfast ensued. Those who needed to work departed, while others headed off to school, leaving only 3 of us in the living room. Gu Lanshu delicately tended to her nails. Mumu, would you take your sister out to play today? I have an appointment with Aunt Chen for a manicure. I can't take you along. I acquiesced. I had grown accustomed to mother scheduling outings with various friends. However, upon turning around, I noticed Qin Shuhua gazing at me with pitying eyes, causing my brows to furrow slightly. Qin Shuhua quickly added, timidly, sister, if you don't want to take me, I can go out by myself. Please agree. I beg you. I want to roam alone. Pretending is exhausting. I had to do it all day yesterday. It's truly tiring. I had no choice but to nod, only to hear Qin Shuhua cheer internally as she departed. I was left alone, opting to return to my bedroom for some much-needed rest after a sleepless night. As I lay on my bed with iPads, I heard someone enter. I assumed it was Qin Shuhua and playfully inquired, didn't you want to play by yourself? Why are you back to find me? After a prolonged silence without a reply, I sensed something amiss. I tore off the iPads and was startled to find it was Qin Yu's. My heart raced heavily. I forced a smile. Did you skip class? Qin Yu's did not respond. Instead, he remarked, sister, if you don't want to smile, then don't. It doesn't he look good? He locked the door behind him and approached step by step. A sense of foreboding washed over me. What are you doing, little brother? Qin Yu's remained silent until he reached the edge of the bed. I had already sat up, ready to bolt at any moment. Ignoring my apprehension, he spoke, sister. You saw it, didn't you? The feeling of dread intensified, and I feigned calmness. Saw what? I don't know what you're talking about. Qin Yu's asserted confidently. Sister, you saw that box. You must be quite flustered having scrambled its contents back together. He chuckled lightly, and sister, Your attempts at feigning ignorance are quite transparent. Your defenses are practically overflowing. He casually settled on the edge of the bed. Terrified, I scooted away, bewildered. Have you lost your mind? Chinya's face betrayed a hint of obsession. Yes, perhaps I have indeed gone mad. From a young age, you were the only one who cared for me. You taught me to read, played with me, coaxed me to eat. I reveled in your attention and care, but at some point, things changed. I am still your shadow. Yet your gaze no longer rests solely upon me. His words grew increasingly frantic, so I began to mimic your every move, hoping to capture your attention a few more times. But it was futile. You never returned to me. Instead, I intensified my scrutiny, observing the friends you made and how you spent your days. Eventually, when I realized something was amiss, it was too late. I fell in love with you, sister. Upon hearing this, I sprang from the bed in disbelief. You must be out of your mind. We are siblings. My concern for you is purely familial. Chinya's laughed maniacally. Haraha, siblings, so what? We are not truly related now, are we? Besides, if an elder brother can, why can't I? My mind went blank. I was at a loss for words. What did you say? Chinya's gaze darkened. Sister, stop pretending. I saw everything last night. Brother entered your room in the middle of the night, and didn't he emerge for half an hour? Sister, if he can, so can I, right? Chinya's pressed closer, and I retreated toward the door. I attempted to soothe him. No, he did nothing. We were merely discussing matters. Chinya's was not swayed, sister. What could you possibly discuss in the middle of the night? Don't you turn on the lights for discussions? He smirked in derision, sister. I am no longer a child. You cannot deceive me.
Bang.
I found myself pressed against the door, while Chinya's advanced menacingly. I raised my hand and struck him across the face with lightning speed. Caught off guard, he turned slightly, momentarily stunned. In the next instant, he presented his other cheek, sweetly saying, Sister, this side needs it too. My vision went dark. I fumbled for the door lock, twisting it, but it wouldn't budge. Noticing my actions, Chinya's brandished a key before me, triumphantly asking, Sister, is this what you're looking for? This is it. Was my reputation truly on the verge of ruin today? My gaze lingered on the window, contemplating whether jumping from the second floor would result in my demise. Chinya's, oblivious, continued to pour out his heart's affections. 3, 2,
1.
The sudden knock on the door interrupted my thoughts. Sister? It was Chen Shuhua's timid voice. I swear, I had never been so fond of her feigned tone before. I quickened my speech. It's me, Shuhua. Go find Aunt Li for the spare key to my room. Wait, don't leave, call her. After issuing my commands, my heart relaxed abruptly. Perhaps sensing the futility of his endeavors today, Chinya's expression darkened with resentment. He suddenly grasped my shoulders, resting his head against my neck, pleadingly asking, Sister, why can't it be? You are no longer the biological daughter of our parents. Can't we just be a family again? I broke free, cruelly informing him, have you forgotten? Mom and Dad have always favored me. Yes, I knew. I was well aware of my parents' favoritism towards me. As for Qin Lin, Father occasionally inquired about his studies, and Qin Lin sometimes received his guidance. But for this youngest son, Father would merely offer perfunctory inquiries, devoid of deeper engagement. Mother was no different. Perhaps Qin Lin was her firstborn, and she cared for him with genuine affection. Yet, when it came to her youngest, she would not personally look after him. Her care was purely verbal. I still remembered when Chinya's cried incessantly as a child, and the aunt could not soothe him, leaving only me, a tiny figure. Gazing at his tear-streaked yet adorable face, I attempted to comfort him. To my surprise, my efforts made him smile. And from that moment on, I found myself with a little shadow trailing behind me. My parents' favoritism towards me was an undeniable truth. On my birthday, my father would cancel his meetings to celebrate with me, while my mother would lovingly bake a cake from scratch. When I fell ill, my father would rush back from afar to keep me company in the hospital, and my mother would meticulously prepare chicken soup. As I attended school, my parents would occasionally escort me, but as I grew older, I felt embarrassed and eventually stopped them from doing so. Whenever I expressed a desire to visit an amusement park, my parents would readily accompany me. Whatever whims I casually mentioned, my father would invariably bring back upon his next return home. At first, I might not have sensed my parents' favoritism, but later, in comparison with my brothers, the undeniable truth of their preference for me became glaringly apparent. The door creaked open, and Chinyu stumbled out in a daze. Aunt Li looked somewhat concerned, Miss. Is it all right that the second young master left in such a manner? I pressed my fingers to my temples and replied, It's fine. Let him calm down. Aunt Li then busied herself with her own tasks, leaving Chen Shuhua gazing at me with wide, sparkling eyes. I let out a soft chuckle. What's wrong? Are you no longer pretending? Chen Shuhua's eyes widened in surprise as she exclaimed, Sister, pretending at what? After a moment, she could no longer suppress her laughter. How did you see through me? I sighed wearily. Let's talk in your room. I had no desire to face this disheartening room for the time being. I reclined on Chen Shuhua's bed while she sat on a nearby chair, curiously asking, How did you know I was pretending? I stared at the pristine white ceiling and answered evasively, Tell me, is this world real? Chen Shuhua paused momentarily, then casually replied, Why would you say such a thing? Is there a possibility of a false world? She offered a playful smile. I see. You must have been frightened by Qin Yu's. I fixed my gaze on her and suddenly asked, Are you Chen Shuhua? Her smile faded slightly as she replied, I am her, yet I am not. Oh. Now it was Chen Shuhua's turn to feel anxious. Why have you stopped asking? Don't you wish to know why I said that? Not really. Chen Shuhua fell silent. The room remained quiet for a considerable time, and as I observed her despondent expression, I declared, You did that on purpose. Chen Shuhua, feeling disheartened, asked, What was intentional? You intended for me to hear your true thoughts. Chen Shuhua sat up straight, scrutinizing me for a moment before suddenly laughing. I didn't expect you to be quite clever. It was indeed quite obvious, the timely reminders and the strategic silence. She must have lingered outside the door for a while, and I hadn't heard a single thought from her. Even now, in our conversation, I heard nothing. It was starkly different from her inner musings at the dinner table yesterday. I felt a twinge of curiosity. How did you manage that? Chen Shuhua shot me a sidelong glance, proudly declaring, It's a secret. I pouted, choosing not to press further. She seemed a bit dissatisfied. Don't you have any other questions? I did, many indeed. Questions like, what will happen at the banquet? How do you know the true nature of those two? What is your mission? Why are you helping me? And who exactly are you? But I knew she would likely provide no answers. It was enough for me to know she meant me no harm, so I simply said no more. Chen Shuhua became flustered, baring her teeth. Do you even understand how to utilize a golden finger? I couldn't help but laugh at her, coaxing, All right then. May I ask if the golden finger can tell me what will transpire at the banquet? Chen Shuhua's expression stiffened, and she replied, somewhat guiltily, Well, that's not something I can elaborate on. I shrugged innocently. See, I've asked, and the golden finger won't say. It's not my fault then. She accused. You did that on purpose. I did not. You did. In a final huff, Chen Shuhua gritted her teeth. I can only tell you this. Come closer. And I'll whisper it. I leaned in, and upon hearing what she had to say, my expression turned peculiar. The banquet was held at the Glance Hotel. The opulent hall was suffused with a subtle fragrance, and I found myself in a corner, gritting my teeth while pulling at Chen Shuhua. Do I really have to carry this? Chen Shuhua nodded. I was not easily deterred. Is it absolutely necessary? With a wave of her hand, she reassured me. Trust me. It truly is useful. She gently patted the side of my skirt. See, no one will notice. Indeed. Who would ever think to conceal a pair of scissors within their gown for a banquet? This was Chen Shuhua's cryptic hint that day. Yet she was reluctant to elaborate further. I wanted to protest, but Chen Shuhua hurried away just before someone else arrived. My friend Han Shuqiao appeared. Yao Yao. What are you doing hiding in the corner? You are the star of the evening. She glanced in the direction Chen Shuhua had gone. Is this the true daughter of your family? I nodded, making every effort to dismiss the scissors from my mind, responding casually, Yes, she's not bad. Han Shuqiao gave me a fleeting glance before nodding in agreement. We linked arms and made our way to the center of the hall. Throughout the entire banquet, from the opening to the speeches given by my father, to Chen Shuhua and I taking the stage, and finally to the concluding acknowledgments, I remained tense. Anyone who came too close made me instinctively wary, fearing an unforeseen incident. Yet, as the banquet concluded, nothing untoward occurred. From across the champagne tower, I exchanged puzzled glances with Chen Shuhua, but she evaded my gaze. Just as I was about to seek her out, my father called to me, Yao. Come with me. I need to discuss something with you. Qin Shifu had indulged a bit too much this evening and was swaying slightly as he walked. Now. The hall was almost empty save for my father, Chen Shuhua, and the service staff. Seeing him unsteady, I stepped forward to support him. Father, where do you want to go? The elevator had already ascended to the 27th floor, with the presidential suite above that. Qin Shifu seemed somewhat disoriented, his excitement palpable as he exclaimed, Yao, I've prepared some gifts for you in the room. Oh, alright then. My father occasionally surprised me with gifts, so I had no reason to be suspicious. The elevator stopped at the 29th floor, and I struggled to guide him into the room. Qin Shifu sat on the bed, grinning foolishly. I scanned the surroundings for any visible gift boxes and asked, "Father, what gifts do you have for me?" His eyes narrowed slightly as he slowly spoke. "Ayao, do you know? You're my favorite." While I continued to search for hidden gifts, I absent-mindedly responded, "I know. Father likes me the most." Qin Shifu chuckled enigmatically. "You're 20 years old today. 20, a most wonderful age." I nodded, yes, so, "Father, what about my birthday gift?" Qin Shifu didn't he reply. He seemed lost in nostalgia. "Back in the day when I met your mother, she was just 20 as well." "Yes." "So you and my mother must have been quite in love." "Wait, that is not right. Am I not the false daughter?" I finally pulled my gaze from scanning the room and turned back to find Qin Shifu's eyes fixed intently on me. That was not the gaze of a father looking at his daughter. It was nauseating, sticky, and impatient, like a beast ready to devour its long-caged prey. I recoiled in horror. The unexpected had arrived. Qin Shifu seemed unconcerned by my retreat. Tonight he appeared eager to confide. "Yao, do you know? Your biological mother also has the character Yao in her name. Calling you is akin to calling her." A nostalgic look washed over Qin Shifu's face, and I felt a wave of nausea as I crouched down. "Yao, your mother and I were each other's first love. Our time together was truly sweet." In an instant, his smile turned to fury. But alas, we were mismatched, and in the end, she was forced to marry, and I was compelled to wed. Her fate was unfortunate. During her pregnancy, her husband cheated on her, and she resolutely sought a divorce, only to suffer complications during childbirth. She passed away right after giving birth to you, leaving you all alone in this world, a mere infant at the time. He gestured gently with his hands, speaking softly. "You have no idea how soft you were back then. You smiled at me, and that smile melted my heart. So, you exchanged me with Qinshuhua?" My voice trembled uncontrollably. Qin Shifu pointed at me from afar, reproaching, "How can you say that? I merely placed her in the welfare home." I shouted in anger. "But she is your daughter." Qin Shifu shrugged dismissively. "Oh, I never liked her anyway." I was rendered speechless by his nonchalance. He fixed his gaze on me, suddenly breaking into a smile, yet I believe that decision was quite right. "Yao, you may not realize, but you bear a striking resemblance to your mother. You didn't look much like her when you were younger, but as you grew, the resemblance became undeniable. I swear, at first, I adopted you just to ensure you had a good life, but later, seeing your face before me was like having Yao Yao back again. I thought, since I raised you so well, rather than letting someone else benefit, why not let it be me? Let us consider it a continuation of my bond with Yao Yao." Thus, I sought to bring that child back. This revelation made me feel nauseous. How could such a sordid family exist? Qin Yu's, Qin Lin, Qin Shifu, each one more repulsive than the last. None of them from the Qin family could be deemed good. Qin Shifu seemed to think he had spoken enough for the night and prepared to attend to more pressing matters. I watched as he staggered towards me, and I trembled uncontrollably. Suddenly, a cold sensation jolted me awake. I looked down to see the scissors that had fallen. I smiled, as if I understood why Qinshuhua had chosen scissors. Qin Shifu advanced step by step, while I retreated towards the coffee table, until my back met the table. He noticed and said smoothly, "Ayao, do not be afraid. Trust your father, all right?" With that, he lunged at me. Now was my chance. I seized the ashtray with my left hand and struck it against his head. Once, twice, thrice, until Qin Shifu's body slumped to the ground. Only then did I cease. Trembling, I pressed down my still quaking left hand while my right hand wielded the scissors, slicing through the fabric with precision. Disgusted, I kicked the object away and headed to the bathroom to wash the scissors clean. When I opened the door, I found Qinshuhua squatting on the floor. "Why aren't you coming in?" Qinshuhua chuckled awkwardly. "I was afraid of affecting your performance." I asked, "Aren't you worried about my safety?" "Not at all. In the original plot, you managed to take him down without scissors. Now that you have them, there's no reason you can't defeat him. How is it? Did he get quite a beating?" The long-lost voice made me pause, and I nodded in response to her expectant gaze. "Come, let me help you to rest." Leaning against Qinshuhua, we slowly moved towards the exit. Just around the corner, we collided head-on with Qin Yu's. "Sister, what is wrong?" he asked with concern. I halted, gazing at the brother I had raised since childhood, and in that moment, I felt as if I knew how I would act in the original plot. It was as if Qinshuhua could hear my thoughts, for in the next moment, she spoke. Indeed, in the original plot, you encountered him as soon as you came out. Out of trust for this brother, you followed him. But he turned around and locked you in a small room known only to him, and I need not elaborate on the events that followed. I subtly pinched Chen Shuhua, and hearing her sharp intake of breath brought me satisfaction. It's nothing. We passed him and continued on our way. The phone rang incessantly. Chen Shuhua, answer your phone. Not mine. I turned it off. I lay in bed, bleary-eyed, unable to fully open my eyes. I swiped at the phone. Qin Yao, where have you been? Your father has been hospitalized. Aren't you coming to see him? I sent you the address. Get here immediately. The furious shout from the other end jolted me awake, the rage making me unrecognizable. I glanced at the caller ID, Mother. Meanwhile, Chen Shuhua had already begun changing her clothes. Confused, I asked, why are you so eager? Avoidance is futile. Chen Shuhua looked at me with that same pitying gaze. At the hospital entrance, Chen Shuhua suddenly said, no matter what happens next, remember, I am always behind you. With that, she hurried off, leaving me no chance to ask further. Outside the emergency room, Gu Lanshu paced anxiously. Mom. I approached her. Slap. She struck me without hesitation. I protested, Mom. Gu Lanshu's face was filled with fury as she demanded, what were you doing yesterday that led your father to be admitted to the hospital in such a pitiful state? I covered my stinging half-face. Mom. Shouldn't you ask what he did to deserve this? Gu Lanshu replied as if it were obvious. Your father can do no wrong. But. I couldn't he continue. I dreaded to think what would happen if my mother found out. I didn't want to lose my last family member. There are no buts. Mother glared at me sharply before resuming her prayers with hands clasped. At that moment, Chen Shuhua placed a hand on my shoulder and patted it. It's all right. I'm here. I sat on a nearby bench, and Qin Lin leaned over, understanding dawning on him, so that's why Dad favors you more. He looked down at me with disdain, sneering. Buzz. So that's why Dad favors you more. Favors you more. Loves you. Reflexively, I slapped Qin Lin. He staggered back, spitting blood, scoffing, how pathetic, can't even take criticism. I retorted defiantly, pathetic? Who's more pathetic? You drug your own sister, and dare not speak of it. You're dark and vile, only scheming behind the scenes. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became, and I slapped Qin Lin again. The commotion drew my mother's attention. She rushed over, shielding Qin Lin behind her. What are you doing, Qin Yao? Gu Lanshu scolded. You even hit your brother. Are you trying to tear this family apart? Apologize to your brother. I glared at Qin Lin. I will not apologize. You've gone too far. With that, Gu Lanshu raised her hand, but this time, it was intercepted by Chen Shuhua. Enough, the hospital doesn't allow loud disturbances. Mom, have him take a look. On the other side, Gu Lanshu cautiously examined Qin Lin's injuries, her eyes filled with concern. Chen Shuhua glanced at me. Does it hurt? Are you envious? I shook my head. Chen Shuhua and I both watched the mother-son duo with their cheerful interaction. Aren't you surprised that your mom prefers Qin Lin more? I was not at all surprised. In fact, I had sensed it. When we were young, Mother favored holding my brother, reading stories to him. Only when Qin Chifu was home would she come to my room to read to me. Once, I desperately wanted to hear the continuation of a story and begged her to read it again that night. She said she would come after finishing with my brother. But by the time I fell asleep, she hadn't come. And it was only on my birthday, or when I was sick and Qin Chifu was around, that I could enjoy the dishes prepared by Mother herself. My brother had no such limitations. Whatever he desired, he merely had to mention it. And the next meal would feature the dishes and desserts made by Mother. Sometimes, Mother would even intentionally let me get sick by dousing me with cold water, so that Qin Chifu, who was far away, would return home, and she would care for me with chicken soup. I have long been aware that she does not love me as I wished. Chen Shuhua discerned the truth from the absence of her response and gently patted Qin Yao's shoulder. You must accept the reality that Gu Lanshu does not truly love you. I silently shrugged in resignation. The emergency room doors swung open, and the doctor emerged to announce the results. Regrettably, the patient was brought in a bit late. Despite our utmost efforts, he remains in a persistent vegetative state. Gu Lanshu, supporting Qin Lin, urgently inquired, Doctor, is there any chance of recovery? The doctor shook his head. The likelihood of recovery is minimal. If someone can spend time with him daily and converse, he may exhibit some response. He continued, as for the patient's physical impairments, I am truly sorry. This cannot be remedied. Having delivered his verdict, the doctor hurried off to attend to the next surgery. Gu Lanshu, with Qin Lin's assistance, managed to remain standing. Suddenly, she pointed an accusatory finger at me, her voice laced with fury. Qin Yao, you are the reason Qi Fu has become a vegetable. You will care for him until he awakens. I frown, mother. The doctor has stated that his chances of waking are very slim. Do you intend to sacrifice my entire life for this? Gu Lanshu, in a piercing tone, retorted, if it weren't for you, Qi Fu would not be in this state. You are to blame, and you must take responsibility. I countered, but he was the one who chose to abandon his humanity. You could easily hire someone to care for him. Gu Lanshu dismissed my argument. Whatever he desires, you will endure. How dare you strike him? From her words, I unearthed an incredulous truth. You know what he wanted? Gu Lanshu, impatient, replied, who doesn't know what you've caused? I took a step back, with Chen Shuhua supporting me from behind. So you knew, ha ha ha. What are you laughing at? Gu Lanshu waved her hand dismissively. It's decided. I stood my ground, meeting her gaze. I will not care for him unless you wish for him to perish sooner. Gu Lanshu's expression darkened as she hissed, then get out. You harbinger of misfortune. You stole my daughter's place, caused my husband to become a vegetable, and you even assaulted my son. You wretched creature, leave my home. Qin Yuz, returning home to fetch some clothes, arrived just in time to overhear the last words. Mother? Why are you sending my sister away? Gu Lanshu's face was a mask of anger. She is neither your sister nor my daughter. Tell her to leave. Qin Yuz attempted to reason with her. Don't, please, mother. I observed this absurd scene, bursting into laughter. Your entire family is utterly revolting. I couldn't wish for anything more than to depart. I hope you won't come begging for my help later. Get lost. Who would beg you? Behind me, Gu Lanshu continued her tirade. Breaking news. The chairman of Chifu Group has fallen into a vegetative state due to his scandalous affairs. Miss Qin, how does this report sound? I scrolled through several pages, astonished. Your capacity for fabrication is impressive. With just a few images, you've concocted this narrative. The individuals opposite me nodded eagerly. Indeed, it's our bread and butter. Very well. Proceed with this. I will transfer the payment later. Chen Shuhua approached and asked, are you truly going to do this? I shot her a sidelong glance. What? Are you unwilling to part with a family fortune? Chen Shuhua raised her hands in surrender. Not at all. I fear you might be reluctant. What is there to be reluctant about? These past weeks have been extraordinarily surreal. I can hardly remember what a happy home felt like. Ever since Qin Chifu became a vegetable, Qin Lin has assumed the role of acting chairman. From his office, he looked down upon the myriad of individuals below. It felt remarkably satisfying. A secretary rushed in, flustered. Mr. Qin, there's trouble. Qin Lin chastised. Stay calm in the face of adversity. Show me what you have. For over 10 days, the shareholders of Chifu Group have been engulfed in gloom. First, the old chairman's accident tarnished the company's reputation, then accusations of tax evasion arose, followed by allegations of kickbacks involving the newly appointed Mr. Qin. The shareholders grew increasingly restless. Ah Yao, I beg you, save your brother. In the restaurant, Gu Lanshu's face was etched with anxiety, while Qin Yuz appeared considerably worn. I swirled the foam in my teacup. I am powerless in this matter, Mrs. Gu. Upon hearing the address, Gu Lanshu shook her head. Ah Yao, I am your mother. I know you possess wealth. Chifu has gifted you many things over the years. If you sell them, you can cover the kickback money, and your brother will serve fewer years in prison. I countered. Why don't you sell them? Gu Lanshu wailed. We've sold everything, villas, shares, jewelry, everything we could, yet it's still insufficient. I was taken aback. How much had Qin Lin embezzled to leave them in such a dire state? Qin Yuz hesitated before speaking. Brother has developed a gambling addiction, and they are now pressuring for repayment. Why should this concern me? I feigned innocence, but I sold all those things and donated the money to the Welfare Institute. A half-truth. I had only donated half, and the remainder would sustain Chen Shuhua and me for a lifetime. How could you do this? Gu Lanshu exclaimed in fury, while Qin Yuz gently patted her back, saying, Sister, did father not leave you shares? His portion doesn't add up. I nodded. Indeed, the 5 shares given at my 20th birthday. Didn't you all know? Qin Yuz shook his head. Even accounting for that, it still doesn't match. I scoffed. Then, who knows? Perhaps he sold them himself. At this point, further discussion is futile. I shall take my leave. Before departing, I whispered in Gu Lanshu's ear. I warned you not to seek my help. Seeing you in despair brings me great joy. And by the way, can you guess where the evidence of your son's kickbacks originated? Behind me, Gu Lanshu seethed. while Qin Yu's hurriedly attempted to soothe her. As I exited the restaurant, the sunlight warmed my skin. "Hey girl, wanna grab a bite?" My treat. Behind me, Qin Shihua beamed. Sure. Everything had settled into place. It was only after some time, through the gossip of friends, that I learned of the Qin family's fate. Qin Shifu, unable to afford the hospital bills, was taken home and soon passed away. Qin Lin, unable to gather sufficient funds, faced a harsher sentence. He would likely remain incarcerated for no less than 8 years. As for Qin Yuz and Gu Lanshu, one had dropped out of school and suffered a broken hand due to debt collectors, leaving his right hand nearly incapacitated. The other, stricken with illness from the stress of the situation, now frequently experienced chest pains. Both were evading their creditors, leading a life fraught with hardship. A friend remarked that they might as well have died. It would be more comfortable than being imprisoned. I silently nodded in agreement. Life can be torturous. But that is of no concern to me, hee. Life, perhaps, can shift from blissful happiness in one moment to relentless misfortune in the next. Ladies and gentlemen, see through the deceptive veils and embark towards the truth. I have traversed this path for you. Ahead lies promise. Please, do not hesitate to move forward. Epilogue. 1. I am Qin Shihua. Qin Yao often asks me why I assist her, and I find myself pondering why she aids me. In my previous life, I cautiously entered what was called home. Yet, no one welcomed me, an ostensibly loving mother, a stern father, a distant brother, an indifferent younger sibling, and a Qin Yao who detested me. Yet, in the end, it was this very Qin Yao who professed her disdain for me, who offered the most support. She would say that such a small room could hardly accommodate anyone and insisted I move next door. She lamented the embarrassment of riding such a poor-quality bike and persuaded our father to buy me a new one. She remarked on my shabby clothing and had the salesperson deliver garments to our home for my selection. When I was bullied and failed to retaliate, she deemed it shameful and dismissed the servants who looked down upon me. However, such a vibrant spirit was extinguished too quickly. Everything derailed at that fateful banquet. I find myself enveloped in a haze of uncertainty, bewildered by the tumultuous dynamics of this household. Fathers and sons at odds, brothers estranged, and couples drifting apart. From my secluded corner within this dwelling, I have gleaned fragments of the unsettling truth. It is a most repugnant family. In a prior existence, Qin Yao did not linger long. One fateful day, she leapt from the rooftop, crashing down before me, a vivid crimson spreading from beneath her. Yet she remained so vibrantly alive. Qin Yao inquired whether I was a taskbearer and if the system was indeed genuine. I informed her that it was a fabrication, a mere ruse to capture her attention and dissuade her suspicions. However, that was not entirely accurate, for I indeed possessed a mission, a task bestowed upon me post-mortem. My previous life was fleeting as well. Qin Lin, in a frenzy for power, orchestrated my demise through his adversaries. Once, I harbored the belief that death was final, a conclusion with no subsequent rebirth. Yet I was mistaken. After my demise, I found myself drifting to the banks of a bridge, where I encountered a woman, her eyes brimming with sorrow. She bore an uncanny resemblance to Qin Yao, prompting me to pause. After she recounted the entirety of Qin Yao's life, from her tender years to the present, she implored me to assist her in altering Qin Yao's fate. She had devised a comprehensive plan, but required one more ally. I acquiesced. Thus, I was granted a second chance at life. This time, she stood by my side to offer guidance, while I took the reins of implementation. The queries I could not resolve were all imparted to me by this sorrowful woman. Qin Yao, let us endeavor to survive together this time. And so concludes this tale. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and liking to support. Until we meet again in the next story.